The culprit was caught murdering festival attendees in front of the Drake and Oak. Lost Wiki. Hello everyone, SinisterHeart here, and we're back again with Lost Wiki. This time playing the full title rather than the demo, so I'm very excited to jump into it, see what mysteries we can unravel in this small town of Kozlovka? Just press a bunch and you log in. Cool. I forgot the town name, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, here we go. Mail. Kozlovka. Okay, potential job in Kozlovka. I've read your articles and I think you can notice what others miss. You're thorough, and more importantly, careful. That's what I need. I've granted you limited access to the database. It holds more than enough, if you know where to look. Attachments, database, instructions doc. Okay, we use the hyperlinks to navigate around the database. We drag the right words into the reports. When you are satisfied with your conclusion, submit the findings to me. I will review them. Alright. Let's get started then. Alright, so once again, we are essentially trying to unravel the mystery of this small town of Kozlovka. Pretty much there was a series of disappearances that happened in the 90s. There seems to be some cult-like activity going on in the town and so on. That's kind of what we're going to be unraveling today as we go through. If you want to watch the demo first, by all means. Otherwise, we just kind of start today with the full title. So here's our mail. Instructions, we did that. Alright, this is our database, and then this is our set of images we can use to kind of go back and click on the images that we clicked on here. And we can kind of zoom in, take a look around at the city of, I believe, Kozlovka. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea how to pronounce a lot of these words, so we'll kind of see how it all goes. Enter your system code followed by the local area code, so as we go through, we get different codes to unlock more information. I'm assuming this is kind of like to bypass those blocks and kind of jump straight to where we were. For the sake of this video though, we're going to start from scratch. Go from the very beginning and then go from there. So Kozlovka. Kozlovka is a small town located in the eastern region of Zarnava, nestled at the edge of the Bielowieza forest. The town boasts its agricultural achievements with incredibly fertile soil. Kozlovka was founded in 1887 and survived significant challenges including German occupation during World War II and the later Soviet influence. So a lot of kind of bad, especially built up kind of around the small town. But the main thing we want to look at, I think, is the forest. So the forest is a bit strange here. I have no idea what this says. Just the Bielowieza. I assume the W makes a V sound. Is located next to the town of Kozlovka. Known for its distinctive natural features, it's home to an ancient tree, the Drake and Oak, which is believed to be over 1,000 years old. It is also home to a unique and rare fungus, Symbiotic ergo. Claviceps symbiotica ergo, is a unique fungus in the Bielowieza forest that relies on symbiotic relationship with their plant host, the Drake and Oak. The fungus known to cause extraordinary fertility of the surrounding land. Dr. Casimir Ostrovsky was a leading expert in the symbiotic ergo. Though uncommon, it can also be used as a medicinal herb. Okay, let's look at the Drake and Oak. So here we have our first sign. Either these are symbols or that's the ergo, but this is a symbol of interest. We'll have that pop up later on. Okay, Quercus Drakensis. Drake and Oak is a rare and ancient tree in the forest. The carving on the trunk was said to be a pagan tradition to honor the agricultural season. That symbol right there. It is protected by the Zarnavian government in 1991 after establishing their independence. The tree is the primary host of the fungus Symbiotic ergo. So the fungus itself we just clicked on. Let's look at the doctor here. Okay, Dr. Casimir Ostrovsky. Their article has been modified from an earlier entry. Curious. Dr. Casimir Ostrovsky was a Russian mycologist who specialized in the study of rare fungi. He moved to Zarnava and dedicated most of his 30-year career studying the symbiotic ergo. He was invited to Kozlovka as part of the Modern Farming Initiative, primarily researching the ecosystem in the Bielowieza forest. Okay, let's look at the Modern Farming Initiative. Was proposed by Mayor Jan Dragunov in 1991 to revise Kozlovska's agricultural practices. It was approved by the Zarnavian government after achieving independence in the same year. The proposal involved Dr. Kazimir Ostrovsky, who was invited to the town to undergo research. The proposal was ultimately scrapped in 1992, and I think it's because of the fate of Jan Dragunov. Actually, no, his father. Jan Dragunov is the current mayor of Kozlovka. He came into mayorship after he superseded his father, Attila Dragunov, in 1992. He's known for proposing the Modern Farming Initiative, in which he invited Dr. Kazimir Ostrovsky to Kozlovka to undergo research. Attila Dragunov was the mayor of Kozlovka from 1945 to 1992. He was known for his establishing the Kozlovka police force and his affection for bisons. He was superseded by his son, Jan Dragunov, when he mysteriously vanished as part of the tragedy commonly known as the 90s disappearance. Okay, let's go back to our very beginning then. And here is our web. Attila, Jan, Kazimir Ostrovsky, the Modern Farming Initiative, Kozlovka. Kozlovka, next to the Bellywoods Forest. The locals refer to as the Draken Oak. The Draken Oak. The town itself has a thriving agricultural business. Where's agriculture at? Agriculture. Okay. There we go. Submit findings. Kozlovka is a quiet town in Zarnava. It is beside the Bellyovieza forest, a vibrant woodland with a very distinctive ecosystem. At the heart of the forest, a tall tree stands proud, that locals refer to as the Draken Oak. The town itself has a thriving agricultural business, one which boasts bountiful harvests and provides food sustainability. Perfect. New email. Need more than this. You found something, but not enough. If you want to keep going, you'll need to understand where the place began. Look for patterns and connections. The flowchart is a tool, not a solution. Follow the threads, not the labels. Continue. You got it. Okay, so we're looking for sigils engraved into the tree, and then the fungus, the ergo. Alright, so let's take a look back. There are 2 runes on the tree. 2 runes on the tree. Let's take a look. Modern Farming Initiative. Check, check. Ostrovsky. Modern Farming Initiative, which we just went through. What about the Zarnavian government? Access restricted. Okay. Cancel. Hold on. What was that, 1991? Enter. Passcode accepted. Nice. Okay. That takes us directly to the Zarnavian Cultural Preserve Initiative. Started in 1991 when Zarnava gained its independence. Its purpose was to preserve sites and documents of cultural significance. See below the list of topics related to the ZCPI. Slavic rune symbols is what we need. Zarnavians have an Eastern Slavic ancestry and formed pagan beliefs, some of which in the form of runes. Few locals, like the witch, still believe they hold power. See below the list of common Slavic symbols. Had an X on the top, right? Her rune's mark, associated with the god of thunder, this Slavic rune was believed to offer protection against misfortune and ill omens. Okay, the Rodovik. This is a Slavic rune linked to family lineage and ancestral blessings, frequently found in household objects. The Izvini Slavic rune is a symbol of forgiveness and peace. It is often used in pagan rituals associated with restless spirits. This was on the tree towards the base. Zamina's cross is a Slavic rune, symbol of fertility tied to bountiful harvests. It's often carved into tools or boundary stones. This was on the top. The twin glyph. 2 interwoven lines representing duality, growth, and decay. Renewal and remembrance. Some rural communities believe that this Slavic rune was a symbol of transition rather than an end. Gotcha, that was on the bottom of the tree. These beliefs are not unfounded, for there are colonies of symbiotic ergo around the tree. The fungus is likely the cause of the town's agricultural success. Okay, what about the town ledger? We need a passcode. No hint available, gotcha. Draken Oak. We have the symbiotic ergo at the bottom there. Alright, and we also have, again, that down there. It's etched in several times. Any other things? What are the disappearances? Let's take a look at that real quick. Modern Formation, Attila Dragunov, The 90s disappearance. So the 90s disappearances. 15 people vanished from Kozlovka over the course of 2 months in the summer of 1992. Most notably, Attila Dragunov was among the missing, as well as one non-local. The investigation led by Jan Dragunov ran cold after a year, having only found a few items from several victims. This was the most recent tragedy that the town had endured. The most recent tragedy. Kozlovka tragedies. And we need a hint to enter that as well. Alright, well that kind of wraps up what we have so far, I think. Town ledger we can't access yet. Whoops. Slavic ruin symbols. Was there something else here? Oh, the witch. So the witch here. The witch is a local shaman who owns a small shop on Kozlovka's high street. She is most known for her appearance, with her iconic one bloodshot eye. Even as a pillar of Kozlovka's culture, there is a decline in interest for ancient pagan rituals. As a tourist, you can get her signature spiritual chalk. Very cool. Spiritual chalk is the flagship product of the Witch, a local shaman in Kozlovka's high street. It is advertised to be able to commune with the surrounding nature and the souls of those who perish with rune symbols. Traditionally, it is a woman's job to mark sites with rune symbols, as many did in the past. We've seen these all over the place in the forest. Care web here. Anything else? Symbiotic ergo. Medicinal herb. We haven't looked at that yet. Ironically, due to Kozlovka's incredibly fertile soil, the medicinal herbs grow in the area are too potent for use and are not approved by the government. However, some locals vouch for their effectiveness, such as the local pharmacist, Dr. Something Dragunov and the witch, although she advocates more for its use in ancient pagan rituals. Okay, with a fertile soil. Kozlovka is known for its agricultural achievements. Their yearly yield supplies around 10% of the food in Zarnava. Their medicinal herbs are also known to be overtly potent. We know that much. Okay, let's look at this Dragunov fellow, as that must be related to the mayor. So he's an accomplished medical doctor and the local pharmacist of Kozlovka. He was the first to formulate a medicine using the local colony of symbiotic ergo. No one has been able to replicate his success. He is a vocal advocate for using Kozlovka's medical herbs for nationwide medical use. I cannot talk today. All right. Anyone else? Anything else? Kozlovka. Founded in 1887. Dragunov family. Date of winter festival. No idea. German occupation. Okay. From 1941 to 1944, Kozlovka was occupied by the Germans and was a main source of food supply for the battalions occupying the region. In June 1944, a huge offensive was launched, cornering the Nazis in the Bialowieza forest. Dozens of lives were lost to the forest, which ended in a Soviet victory. Afterwards, Zarnava declared independence in 1991. Sounds like altogether we have some strange things going on in this forest, from disappearances to deaths. Something supernatural is going on, whether in relation to the Drake and Oak, to the symbiotic ergo, or just other spiritual happenings in this forest. Perhaps their deaths triggered it, perhaps it was always this way. Okay, Dragunov family, and can't look at that just yet, so we'll leave it be. Alright, we have kind of everything we can find for right now. So let's submit our findings. Engraved on the tree, there are 2 runes, the top being Zemina's cross and the bottom being twin glyph. The locals clearly hold spiritual beliefs tied to the forest. These beliefs are not unfounded, for there are colonies of symbiotic ergo around the tree. The fungus is likely the cause of the town's agricultural success. Alright. I think this is where the demo ended before. I don't recall. The real brief. Thank you. Apologies for being cautious. I needed to know you were the right person for the job. I haven't been fully honest with you. This isn't just research. Someone I cared about disappeared in the early 90s. Official records are incomplete and inconsistent. Most people stopped asking. I didn't. Okay, so we are on the hunt for someone who disappeared. So in the 90s, whoops, did not mean to do that. Alright, in the 90s, there were a string of disappearances, most notably Attila Dragunov. Blank was also a victim of disappearance. It was because of this that the blank was scrapped. Huh. I'm gonna guess then that our doctor here Dr. Kasimir Ostrovsky had to have disappeared, because that would have had to lead to the cancellation of the Modern Farming Initiative, as he was the main person behind it. He was the leading force in studying and carrying it out. So if he's gone, then there's no one there to carry out the Modern Farming Initiative. So he must have also been a victim of the disappearance. The victim's belongings are found in the blank forest, where they're presumed to have met their ends. So, that one was quick and easy. So, Kasimir Ostrovsky also went missing, which led to the end of the Modern Farming Initiative, led by the Zarnavian government, in order to preserve, sites of Zarnavia. And they all disappeared in the Bialowieza forest. Bialowieza forest. I'm going to struggle so much with this. Submit findings. In the 1990s, there were a string of disappearances, most notably Attila Dragunov. Dr. Kasimir Ostrovsky was also a victim of the disappearance. It was because of this that the Modern Farming Initiative was scrapped. The victims' belongings are found in Bialowieza forest, which is where they're presumed to have met their ends. How or why is unclear. New email. Dig deeper. I can't believe they're so close to the town. This changes a lot of things. I need you to investigate further. By now you must have tried to access our tragedy page. We normally don't show this to the public, but I'll make an exception. Attachments, access request doc approved. Okay. Here we go. Dear Vola, thank you for contacting the town hall. After considering your close relationship with the governing bodies, your request to access the article Kozlovka Tragedies has been approved. Below is a one-time access code to the page. Code 7328. Okay, so, town tragedies. Whoops. Go here, town tragedies. And our code was 7328. 7, 3, 2, and 8. Enter. Page accepted. Okay. For an uneventful town, Kozlovka has had a share of its tragedies throughout its history. See below the list of noticeable incidents. 90s disappearance, summer plague, animal killings, Battle of the Forest, and the Festival Massacre. Among them, these are the tragedies that coincide with the sudden spikes in Kozlovka's agricultural yield, from earliest to latest. Interesting. So perhaps all these tragedies are then fueling the agricultural yield. Perhaps it's a type of sacrifice, an offering to some god that lives in the forest to then provide the town with its agricultural yield. Coincidentally, these tragedies were all committed in it's gotta be the forest, right? 90s disappearance, we already went through that. Summer plague. In August 1990, an unusual wave of deaths spread across the town. Most victims had pre-existing medical conditions and were found deceased in their homes. Postmortems revealed unidentified fungal matter within the bloodstream. Suspected at first to be a fast-moving contagion, the tragedy ended as it began. So maybe something to do with the symbiotic ergo? Which then led to pre-existing conditions flaring up and killing people? That's 1990. Animal killings. In 1965, a tragedy occurred when locals were reporting their pets missing to the authorities. It was revealed that dozens of animals were found mutilated at the foot of the Draken Oak. Although the investigation was quickly resolved, the bodies are proven difficult to retrieve, due to them decaying at a faster rate in the soil. That's crazy. You think someone killed them and placed their body there as offering, or you think something lured them out into the forest to die there? Battle of the Forest, which we've read already. That's when the German forces were fought. Festival Massacre, 1892. Okay. In 1892, dozens of locals were killed during the Winter Festival. The culprit was caught murdering festival attendees in front of the Draken Oak. When cornered, the culprit slit their own throat and joined their victims at the foot of the tree. This is the earliest tragedy recorded in Kozlovka. That's wild. Okay, I think we also have a chart here somewhere that shows agricultural yields. So right before 1990, in 1945-ish, okay, and then a slight bump in 1960. Okay, so our first one will be the Festival Massacre. Next will be the Battle of the Forest. Then this will be the slight bump that we see. Coincidentally, these tragedies were all committed in the blank forest. Curious all around. Let's take a closer look at the Festival Massacre. The Winter Festival. The Winter Festival occurs every year on 15th of December. The festival celebrated the hardships between people endured through the year. Wives would take up their husbands' tools as a sign of kinship and equal footing. The holiday is no longer celebrated since the massacre of 1892. Damn, okay. Tragedy. Alright, but that's 1892. There was also one other. Was it the ledger that's kind of locked out of the Dragunov family? Passcode required. 1892 is the passcode we need to access the Dragunov family. Enter. Incorrect. What? Maybe it's 12. Need the date in the month, so the 12th of, or excuse me, the 15th of December. Okay, the Dragunov family. Kozlovka was founded by Bohdan Dragunov and Alina Dragunov. The story goes that their love guided them to the plot of land in hopes of starting anew as a family. A memorial was erected to honor the family, which includes a quote that reads, "For the loss of a few, there is still many." Okay, that just screams that everything going on is an intentional sacrifice to then keep the agriculture going. Exactly to who or what this is happening, I don't know. I assume that while there may be some supernatural goings on in the forest, it could also just be, since there is a symbiotic ergo in the forest, and it's believed that fungus is causing the agricultural, yields to be increased, that simply maybe killing things next to it just feeds the fungus, which then leads to higher yields. That could be the very straightforward perspective. There could also just be something cosmic or supernatural going on behind the scenes, operating through the fungus. Hard to say. Still a little bit early on. Okay, Bohdan. Bohdan was a founding member of Kozlovka. Originally carpenter, his career shifted to farming after having their first child, who was born sickly. He was famous for being a terrible farmer, but nevertheless persevered. He was always devout to his wife, and is famously said to have borrowed her strengths in time of need. Okay, then Alina Dragunov. Alina Dragunov was a founding member of Kozlovka. She was incredibly spiritual and set up the Winter Festival as her way of celebrating her husband's crops. The festival attracted dozens of people whose families make up Kozlovka today. She was always devout to her husband and was known in the community to have set everything aside for the sake of her family. Alright, not a whole lot there, but definitely seems like maybe she was the one who made a Faustian deal, so to speak. Okay. Anything else to peek through? The town ledger, which requires no hint available. Okay, well, we have everything we need so far. So let's submit our findings. Something is not correct. I'm assuming then our 90s disappearance will be our latest. There we go. For a small town, Kozlovka has had its fair share of tragedies. Among them, these are the tragedies that coincide with sudden spikes in Kozlovka's agricultural yield, from earliest to latest. Festival Massacre, Battle of the Forest, 90s Disappearance. Coincidentally, these tragedies were all committed in the Bielowieza forest. I'm wondering then if, as the yield was decreasing, someone tried to offer animals instead of people to see if that would also work for the yields, but we saw from a very tiny spike, it did not do the same as offering up people to the forest. Strange. That kind of takes away from this idea that it's simply just the fungus feeding off of people, because you think any organic matter would do. Redacted bypass. Okay, your findings have been more than helpful. They're disturbing. This pattern we're uncovering, it's not random. Someone knew. Someone let it happen. You must have redacted bypass installed on your system, like any good journalist. It's been a while since it's been prohibited by the government, so here's a refresher on how to access it. Okay? Alright, redacted bypass. In order to enable redacted bypass, you must first have your system code. You can find this in your computer system code. Then you'll need the local area code of the city you'd like to bypass. You can find these in addresses. In all addresses. Local area code, heading code. Okay, let's save real quick. Settings? Controls? I need to reload? I think I need to reload. Okay. Is there a good way for us to write down our system code? Because I think we're going to be able to. Okay. Let's click reload. Reload. So, system code 342. Okay. Then what else did we need for it? Followed by your area code. What's our area code, though? Maybe the request approval? There we go. 451 SW2, so 451. So it was in an older email. That's where I was needing to look. Or, excuse me, a letter being sent. Cool. And enter. Redacted bypass. Welcome to the redacted bypass. With this program, you can access data from articles that have been previously modified by local authorities. Insert article name to continue. And we know that one on, I think, our Dr. Ostrovsky has been modified. We know that much. Ostrovsky. Enter. Attempting data retrieval. The talented mycologist went missing during his time in Kozlovka. When the mycology community asked for his research in the forest, the local government refused to release it due to sensitive information. Curious. What's sensitive information? Kozlovka. Jan Dragunov? Okay, so Jan. Let's talk about Jan real quick. Enter. What did Jan have to say? Jan was infamous for being vocal about his disapproval of the use of symbiotic ergo. After the plague, he launched the Modern Farming Initiative with the primary goal of phasing out the fungi from use. Okay, so he wanted to destroy it. Jan, what about his father, Attila? Give us some information on Attila. Maybe more info about his disappearance? As the town was relatively small, there was no sheriff, and so the mayor was responsible for leading investigations. Upon appointing himself sheriff, he stated, "As long as I draw breath, I shall keep this town thriving. Know that I will do what's best for Kozlovka." So it almost sounds like Jan was like, hey, we're sacrificing people. Let's maybe stop doing that. Let's get rid of it completely. Attila was amongst the last who maybe wanted to clearly keep this trend going of, yes, let's keep killing these people. Maybe Jan had something to do with his disappearance, or maybe the disappearance of Attila led to him being like, you know what, this is getting too personal. This wasn't supposed to affect the Dragunov family, but it is. Now I'm stepping in. Maybe that's the key goal here. So, after the government's disapproval of their product, blank caused the tragedy. Huh. So Jan proposed the Modern Farming Initiative to abandon any use of symbiotic ergo. Where's that at? Okay, then who caused the tragedy then? 90s disappearance. Attila, we already went through that. Jan already went through theirs. Maybe any of the tragedies, maybe. 90s disappearance? Nope. What about the Summer Plague? Summer Plague has some info that's been redacted. Okay, the Summer Plague. The victims were frequent patrons of Dr. Dragunov, who regularly complained that standard medicine would not help people with such long-standing medical conditions. After a swift investigation, the police said there is no correlation. Do you think he caused that tragedy? Do you think the doctor caused the tragedy? Why would he do that, though? What does he stand to gain for it? Victims were frequent patrons of the Dr. Dragunov, who regularly complained that standard medicine would not help people with such long-standing medical conditions. After a swift investigation, the police said there was no correlation. After the government's disapproval of their product, Dr. Dragunov caused the tragedy, Summer Plague. But why? If he's trying to convince the government, why kill everyone? Out of spite? Out of anger? To prove a point for something? What exactly? Why would he cause that? Okay, what other disasters here? Animal killings have also been modified. What else we got? Witnesses mentioned that they saw a red glowing dot darting around the area when the mutilation supposedly took place. This sparked a short-lived legend of an angry spirit in the forest. The police stated that this was a baseless rumor. Perhaps, but also maybe not. The Battle of the Forest. Sure, there are probably some other goings-on. German documents show that the occupation was not a simple invasion, but to also investigate an event that happened in the late 1800s. These documents were given to the local police force. I'm guessing the Festival Massacre is what they're talking about? I mean, we know the Nazis were very invested in the occult, so there was a disturbing rumor that the killer carved the runes into the Draken Oak as part of festival traditions. Although not much evidence suggests this, it was speculated to be a reason why the festival is no longer celebrated. So all linking back to some spirit, some god living in the forest, sacrificing people to this god, to this tree, and so on. The Nazis invaded to look into reasons behind it, were eventually massacred in their own right by the invading Soviet forces. And for some reason later on, the overall government, Tsarnavian government was like, we're not going to use this though. We're not going to use this fungi. To which the Dr. Dragunov was like, well, fuck you. What if I just kill everyone? But why? What purpose does that serve? Okay, I think that's most everything. I'm not sure if there's any other modified pages so far. I think that's it. I don't think there's anywhere else we can look right now. Okay, let's submit a report. After the government's disapproval of their product, Dr. Mitzlav Dragunov caused the tragedy Summer Plague. Because of this, Jan Dragunov proposed the Modern Farming Initiative to abandon any uses of the symbiotic ergo. So Jan, maybe he's a cousin, a brother of Mitzlav Dragunov. Maybe that then led to Jan being like, alright, we gotta get rid of this. This is clearly a bit much. But why would the doctor kill him? That's what I don't get. Family ties. Mitzlav is a good man, but I knew that his ambition would get to him. I think he risked innocent lives. Oh. So maybe he was pushing it more than he should have to show the advantages of the fungi and inadvertently killed them. Or maybe he was the one who started again using the fungi for medicinal uses, not understanding the long-term risks which then led to the deaths of his patients. So he inadvertently caused it. Not intentionally, but inadvertently. I may have found something that is of use. What's inside is sensitive. Handle it accordingly. I'll continue digging around for more material. And then we have an image here. It says, to whom it may concern, as you may know, it has been 3 months since our mayor went missing. He was dear to our hearts, but alas, we must come together and continue running the town. The control of the Kozlovka police force and its public database will be transferred to his son, Jan Dragunov, as he'll be taking the reins as mayor of the town. With that, the passcode to the town ledger has been changed. It is now the heading code of the town hall. Thank you for everyone for your patience. Regards, Kozlovka Police Force. Heading code of the town hall, which we also, I think, have in this one. Town hall, 451 NW6. Blank's true name is Blank. They were responsible for the tragedy Blank. They frequently returned to the site of the tragedy to carve the rune Blank onto the Draken Oak. We already have some of that information there. Okay, Town Hall, 45 NW6. We'll have to deal with that here in a second. Draken Oak is going to be one part of this clue, so let's grab that real quick. We know the top rune there was the cross. But then who... Clearly have a fake out here. Blank's true name is Blank. They were responsible for the tragedy Blank. Okay. Town ledger. 1, 2, 3, 4. Curious. We have 4 here. The town's ledger is NW7. 4517? No? Okay. Then let's take a look at the other document we got here. Okay, NW6. So, we have the redacted bypass saying area code, heading code. I can figure this out, hold on. So if north is 0, east directly is 90, 270 would have to be west. So then northwest would have to be the median between 360, 315, I think is the median. 315.6. There we go, okay. I figured it out, eventually. Okay, town ledger. This is where you'll learn about the real names. Who's Aliyah Dragonova? Don't know who that is, but alright. Okay, so let's take a look at Attila. We already read about him. Dragonov. Already read about him. Did we... Hold on, did we already do this for Dragonov? The doctor? He announced a more potent version of his medicine in 1989, but failed safety tests in the subsequent year and was not approved by the government. Huh, maybe we forgot to do that. That's my bad. Town ledger. Tilla. Believe we've already done. Let's make sure there's nothing new here. Okay, we already did that. Aliyah Dragonova? Who is this? Oh, is this the witch? Aliyah Dragonova is the adoptive elder sister of Attila and Mislav Dragonov, although she acted more as a caregiver to the two boys rather than a sibling. Not much is known about her besides reports of her eccentric personality. In 1965, the Dragonov family announced that she had run away, though no investigation was held. She's the witch. The witch's true name. She was responsible. They were responsible for the tragedy. So she's the witch, 100%. And it's been modified. Let's take a closer look at what this says about her. That she's the witch, obviously. Her brother, Mislav, pursued medicine after being inspired by her childhood stories of being sickly, one which damaged her eye, although it was more of a morbid fascination of her condition than a drive to help her. Curious. 1965. Do you think she's the one who killed all the animals in 1965? I think so. Wait, who's this? Vola is the mother of Jan Dragonov. She was a proud mother and adamantly supported Jan's mayorship after her husband's disappearance. Although she no longer uses their last name, she still has close connections with the family. Curious. Okay. So the witch. Her true name is Aliyah Dragonova. They were responsible of 1965 was the animal killings, right? Tragedies, animal killings of 1965. So maybe she knew about the family's dark history, right? Of essentially sacrificing people to keep the trend going. And she was maybe looking for an alternate method of let's stop killing people. Maybe let's do the, next best thing and do animals. And upon seeing it didn't work, stopped. Something's not correct. Okay. Maybe she drives the Izvini onto the Draken Oak for forgiveness. She does. Perfect. Okay. The witch's true name is Aliyah Dragonova. They were responsible for the tragedy, animal killings. They frequently returned to the site of the tragedy to carve the rune Izvini onto the Draken Oak as a sign of peace and forgiveness for either her role in the tragedies that unfolded for killing the animals, maybe for everything that's been happening in the forest, and her family's role. Okay. Hidden sister. To think that the witch was their sister all along, and to think they had a sister to begin with, it's almost unbelievable. I found this document hidden in the archives. It felt like it was meant to be buried, like it wasn't meant to be found. I hope it helps your investigation. Okay. Year 1943, research notes number 144, transcriptions. A tree looks to be centuries old. It can be confirmed there are runes on the tree. However, it isn't chalk like the pictogram suggests. Seems to be carved with some carpenter tool. Reminds soldiers not to trample over the area, and be careful of the delicate fungi. They are hard to spot, but they are there. Update. Found a letter, written a few days after the incident. Will attach along with these notes. And that letter is... what exactly? Huh. Using chalk. Some carpenter tool. Carpenter tool. Curious. Do we have anything related? Blank is responsible for the tragedy blank. They are also responsible for the 2 blank on the blank. The rumors of the tragedy spread across Europe and led to another tragedy blank. So now we gotta jump back to 1945, right? Spread across Europe. So then, yeah, whatever tragedy that happened here around the late 1800s, that's right. Let's see. Winter Festival Massacre. They are also responsible for the 2 blank on the blank. Also, yeah, the runic symbols. Okay, so we have this. Whoever caused the massacre during the Winter Festival then carved the runes onto the Draken Oak, all the way back during the Winter Festival in 1892. Hearing about that tragedy then led to the German forces to then occupy the region to continue investigating the occult activity going on in that region. So, we need to find out who is responsible for the tragedy. Okay, so, this means either Alina or Bodan. She's always devout to her husband. Okay, what about Bodan? Originally a carpenter. Maybe he caused the tragedy, and then he carved. Since he is a carpenter, and he's not a super great, agriculturist, not a good farmer, he decided to then sacrifice people to, have a better yield. And we already know he borrows the strength of Elena Dragonova. So it wouldn't be too out of the question for him to also borrow the power, the strength of a power and entity, a being he has no real grapple with, no way of truly understanding or understand the effects it'll have on the rest of his life and the surrounding region. Unless she was the one. Maybe it's a fake out. And was known in the community to set everything aside for the sake of her family. And we do know that during the festival, as it's stated, that's also the time when the women wives would take up their husband's tools as a sign of kinship and equal footing. She was the one who did that. She killed those people for the sake of her husband, for her family. And is also responsible for the 2 runic symbols on the Draken Oak. 2 Slavic rune symbols on the Draken Oak. That's what she did. She set this whole thing in motion. How, I don't know. The rumors of the tragedy then spread across Europe and led to another tragedy. The Battle of the Forest. Something is not correct. Is it the husband then? Was the husband the one who did it? Something's not correct. Oh, that's right. I have the wrong thing here. It is Alina. I have the wrong bit of information entered for the Festival Massacre. Submit findings. Alina Dragonova is responsible for the tragedy, Festival Massacre. They are also responsible for the 2 Slavic rune symbols on the Draken Oak. The rumors of the tragedy spread across Europe and led to another tragedy, Battle of the Forest. Another email. Conspiracy. This must have been the beginning of it all. I've heard of the legend before, but always thought it was an old wives' tale to scare me when I was a child. I think we're uncovering a much deeper conspiracy than we thought. Surely someone must have known about all of this. How did these tragedies go unnoticed, unconnected? Well, they are spaced out by damn near generations. 1890s, then 1945, then spans of 25 to 30 years. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. These seemingly are long-standing, very spaced-out tragedies that, as people kind of go by and generational knowledge gets lost, why would someone connect them? Until now. Okay, so Blank initially led investigations astray. They ousted Blank from the family after the tragedy Blank and covered up mistakes by Blank after the tragedy Blank. Initially led the investigations astray. They ousted Blank from the family after the tragedy Blank and covered up mistakes by Blank after the tragedy. So maybe in this case, the witch, Lilia, I forgot her name. She was ousted, though no investigation was held. They definitely ousted her after the tragedy. They definitely got rid of her after the animal killings and covered up mistakes made by Blank after the Blank tragedy. And then covered up the doctor's mistakes after he unintentionally initiated the summer plague. So then that leaves Attila, the father, as the architect of this grand conspiracy. I think. Yep, got it. I'm a genius. Attila Dragunov intentionally led investigations astray. As the mayor, he had control of the investigations, he intentionally kind of misled people. They ousted the daughter from the Dragunov family after the animal killings, and covered up the mistakes made by the doctor after the tragedy of the summer plague. So basically, one thing after another. Lilia tried to find a better way of continuing the high yields, but ultimately failed, and they ousted her from the family for doing so. And then after the doctor made his mistakes trying to push the symbiotic ergo, the father covered for him, covered up the mistakes. One thing after another with his family. Okay, you've done enough. I don't think this is a good direction to pursue. You've already done more than enough for the investigation, and your notes have been very helpful. But for now, I'm asking you to stop looking at this. Please leave it be. Why? You must have been incredibly close to Blank. After all, your real name is Blank, isn't it? Incredibly close to Attila Dragunov. After all, your real name is... Is this the mother? Dragunov family. I wonder if this is the mother. Your real name is Vola Dragunov, isn't it? Yep, it's the mom. You must have been incredibly close to Attila Dragunov. After all, your real name is Vola Dragunov, isn't it? Dragunova. Alright, so the mom probably did not have any idea of what was going on, and basically hired us to figure out what happened to my husband, what's going on in this town. I am not being told the whole truth. Wrong assumptions. Attila was my husband. He was everything to me. I loved him, and I never imagined he would be involved in whatever this is. I hired you because I wanted to know what happened to him, not learn he might have had a part in it. I don't know everything he did, but he was always a private man. Please don't assume the worst without proof. Knew it. There is more at play. There is a reason why there are so many Blank. Everything traces back to one place and the roots lead back to the Blank. That tree is the center of it all, and your husband is a part of it. The reason why there's so many tragedies. Kozlovka tragedies. Everything traces back to one place and the roots lead back to the Draken Oak. Draken Oak. Where is it at? Draken Oak. It's on here somewhere, team. Draken Oak. The tree is the center of it all, and your husband is part of it. There is more at play. There is a reason why there are so many Kozlovka tragedies. Everything traces back to one place, and the roots lead back to the Draken Oak. That tree is the center of it all, and your husband is part of it. Hands open. Finish what we started. We've come too far to stop now. I suppose we have to see it through. I went through his office. I hate doing it. It feels wrong, but something caught my eye. I don't know why he had this or what it means. Maybe you'll understand it better than I do. I'm sorry, Jan, but it's impossible. The land is too reliant on the symbiotic ergo. Without it, we just can't. Maybe decades later, something can change, but the damage is too dire. Your proposal will fail. And there's something else. I think I'm being watched. I might know who's behind the recent incidents, but I need to be certain before I say more. I'll explain in person. July 21st, 1992. Maybe this is a letter from Jan to Attila? I think so. I think this is a message from Jan to Attila. Basically saying, we gotta stop. We gotta stop doing this. And then Attila being like, actually, we have to let it go. We have to let it happen. But even Attila doesn't know who is behind all of these disappearances. So Blank sent a letter to Blank of how the blank will fail. So this is Attila sending a letter to Jan saying that the modern farming initiative will fail. They also knew who was involved in the summer disappearances, the 90 disappearances. Something's not right. Maybe it was a doctor? It was the doctor who sent it. Dr. Kasimir Ostrovsky sent a letter to Jan Dragunov of how the modern farming initiative will fail. They also knew who was involved in the 90s disappearances. So I'm guessing this was after the disappearance of Attila. The doctor was brought in. The doctor's like, there's no way we can just not use the fungus anymore, otherwise the whole town will fail, the whole region will fail. A new letter. No subject. These are the last of what I could find. They know I've been looking into this. If something happens to me, please find, and then something definitely happened to her. Okay. Maybe she was killed. Evidence letter. Refer to research notes number 144 for details. My dearest daughter, do not fear the sacrifice your mother made. Take the fungi, and you'll not only survive, you will thrive. The land will remember your name as it remembers hers. With all the love I can still give, your father, 17th of December, 1892. Curious. All coming together now. Dear brother, I read her father's letter. Think about it. If the land feeds on what it's given, then maybe it doesn't have to end in ruin. Maybe this is how we survive. It's no wonder she never seemed to age. All this time, I need to test it. A few small trials, just to see. The thought alone has kept me awake for days. I know how it sounds, but this could change everything. Imagine what we could do for the next 50 years. Oh my god. The witch. The witch. Dragunova. She was the daughter of the original founders, and they adopted her, quote unquote. Curious. But eventually, I think maybe she felt guilty and couldn't do it anymore. Dear brother, time is running out. I think I'll have to start soon. Jan invited some expert after your clumsy mistakes, but I think I can handle them. Perhaps your trials were not failures. You said they passed in their sleep? It might be best solution to make it as painless as possible. It's the best we can do for what we're asking of them. For the loss of a few, there are still many. July 9th, 1992. Curious. Time is running out. Jan invited some expert after your clumsy mistakes. I think I can handle them. Perhaps your trials are not failures. Dear brother. Is everything alright? Voda? (1963). Submit findings. Is everything alright? Vola Dragunova? Are you there? Town Hall, Kozlovka.local. Contract terminated. Hello. I'd like to apologize for Vola Dragunova's actions as of late. Unfortunately, we've decided to terminate your contract. Please cease all prior investigations and send your invoice to the Town Hall. Your services will be paid in full. Thank you for your cooperation. Who is this? This has to be either Jan or could also be her. It's not. It's Jan. Jan? Is that you? Who is this? Jan Dragunov? Is that you? That was a good guess. Or perhaps you're simply more perspective than I gave you credit for. Tell me, what's driving you now? Curiosity, guilt, or the need to be right, no matter the cost? You're probably the only one to understand. Too much blood has been spilled in Kozlovka. Blank and I didn't know what we are uncovering, but we do now. The world deserves to know. Then the mom. You're probably the only one to understand. Too much blood has spilled in Kozlovka. Vola Dragunova and I didn't know what we were uncovering, but we do now. And the world deserves to know. Stubborn as a rock. You are naive to think that simply telling everyone is going to solve anything. Truth doesn't heal. It spreads. It divides. It consumes. Fine. I'll let you continue your investigation. You already have everything you need. Perhaps you'll understand the position I've been forced into. Start from the beginning. The letter was written by blank addressed to blank. So, this letter, down here. Letter. My dearest daughter, do not fear the sacrifice your mother made. Take the fungi and you'll not only survive, you will thrive. The land will remember your name as it remembers hers. With all the love I can still give, your father. So, the father, the founder, Budan, was addressed to the witch. It suggests that the tragedy, because we also note, I think, after their first child who was born sickly. Lilia Dragunova was born sickly, which is why she only has one bloodshot eye. It suggests that the tragedy, the festival massacre, was a ritual to cultivate more of the symbiotic ergo in order to treat Lilia's illness. The letter is lost to time, only be found during the tragedy. Oh, this was found by the Germans, so this was found during the Battle of the Forest. The letter was written by Budan Dragunov, addressed to Lilia Dragunova. It suggests that the tragedy, festival massacre, was a ritual to cultivate more symbiotic ergo in order to treat Lilia Dragunova's illness. This letter was lost to time, only be found during the tragedy, Battle of the Forest. And she's been alive this whole time. Continue. Attempting the ritual again. Perhaps the ergo was wearing off. She attempted the tragedy. Animal killings. It failed to achieve results. When they were caught, Blank took the letter and sent it to Blank. In their excitement, Blank caused the tragedy, Blank. When they were caught, I think Jan sent the letter to his brother. Upon learning what the fungi could do, he then caused the tragedy, the summer plague, because he didn't fully understand the fungi. What? Maybe the father then? Attila? There we go. The father found it. Attempting the ritual, Lilia Dragunova caused the tragedy, animal killings. It failed to achieve results. When they were caught, Attila Dragunov took the letter and sent it to Mislav Dragunov. In their excitement, the doctor caused the tragedy, summer plague. Almost there? But then what caused the 90s disappearance? After the incident, you invited Blank to research symbiotic ergo. You invited the good doctor Casimir Ostrovsky to investigate and research symbiotic ergo. While research was underway, Blank started the ritual once again, causing the tragedy, Blank. Perhaps it was Attila. Both times. It was. Okay. After the incident, you invited Dr. Casimir Ostrovsky to research the symbiotic ergo. While research was underway, Attila Dragunov started the ritual once again, causing the tragedy 90s disappearance. Dr. Kasimir Ostrovsky was suspicious and tried to notify you. However, the letter was intercepted by Attila Dragunov and killed them. This alerted you of the crime. Well done. I'm assuming you already figured out what happened next. So maybe by that point, in the 1965, after the animal killings, Lilia kind of backed down, was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to kill people. I have no interaction. I don't want to be a part of it. Is that the case? Because we also had letters, but that was also dated in 1965. So she tried to, failed, and was like, I'm kind of done. I'm not going to do this anymore. And that way, she's growing old. She's aging. I'm assuming you already figured out what happened next. There isn't enough evidence, but I can make an educated guess. You killed blank. He was the last victim of the blank. You killed Attila Dragunov. He was the last victim of the 90s disappearance. There isn't enough evidence, but I can make a calculated guess. You killed Attila Dragunov. He was the last victim of the 90s disappearance. This was Jan putting a stop to the entire thing. He may have been my father, but by the end, he wasn't the man I knew. When I learned what he'd done, what he intended to continue, I had to end it. It was foolish, because in the end, the burden fell onto me. The irony of it all. Some truths rot everything they touch. Do you understand why the past had to stay buried? Blank is too reliant on the blank. The town was built on death, on rituals disguised as tragedies, and it's been feeding on that ever since. Kozlovka is too reliant on the symbiotic ergo. Kozlovka is too reliant on the symbiotic ergo. The town was built on death, on rituals disguised as tragedies, and it's been feeding on that ever since. Do what you must. Kasimir only confirmed what I was too scared to admit myself. The town is built on blood, and to an extent the country of Zarnava. If we stop the process, people will starve. But what's a measly few to sacrifice only every 50 years? It was a curse inherited by my family, but I've grown tired of the charades. I think in my heart, I wanted someone to know. I won't stop you from doing what you think is right. I only wish my mother wouldn't need to know. I think your mother's dead. Shit, we have 3 options here? Fuck. Publish the article, delete the evidence, burn the tree. Publishing the article just disseminates the information. It doesn't necessarily stop anything. Deleting the evidence causes the cycle to continue. Burning the tree prevents any more fungus, ensures that the land will no longer be fertile, and will kill and starve a lot more people. So what's the right choice here? Let the world know and let them decide? Delete the evidence and let the cycle continue? Letting the bloodshed continue to allow the rest of the country to continue eating? Like he said, a few measly few every 50 years? Or burn the tree and stop the cycle altogether. Stop the charades, stop feeding the soil, the fungi with people. That's a tough choice. Let's do publish the article. And we can ideally circle back if we have the opportunity and see what the different 3 endings provide. Publish the article. Admin Office Detention Notice, Unauthorized Disclosure. Zarnava International Security has flagged you for unauthorized disclosure of classified material. Your residence is under surveillance. Agents will arrive within 2 hours to take you into custody. Processing will occur at the National Center. 1 phone call will be permitted. Remain at your registered residence until an agent arrives to avoid escalation. We go to jail. Fun. Game created by Yatfang Long. Wow. That was a crazy story all around. It was a very interesting idea and we still never got a true idea on whether or not this was something supernatural or something entirely just simply biological to the region. Reports of floating lights and angry spirits never fully confirmed or disregarded. Other than that, bad things happen in that forest. In order to feed the many, a few must be sacrificed. Strange all around. Your game is saved just before the last report. Feel free to explore other endings. I will. So that ending is just, we get the report, but nothing really happens. Continue. Let's explore the final 2 endings here. Let's delete the evidence and then burn the tree. Okay, let's delete the evidence. What ending do we get here? Mail. Are you there? Things are quiet. The fields are green again. The harvest looks like it'll be strong this year. My son hasn't said much, but he brushed it all off as a misunderstanding. Guess some things don't change, but I can't help but feel like there's still something wrong. I know you've not replied to my previous emails, but please give me a sign. And we allow the cycle to continue. Alright, the final ending is burn the tree. A physical letter. Thank you for doing what I spent my whole life wishing I could. But every time I tried, I thought of what dying would mean, and I faltered. I was too scared. But now I've lived a much longer life than I needed. If Kozlovka survives, I pray it remembers you more kindly than it will remember me. Lilia. In the end, we set the tree ablaze. Possibly dooming the entire region, dooming Kozlovka, dooming the entire country. Alright, let's take a moment to kind of align the story here real quick. So all the way back at the founding of the country, the 2 founders, the husband was not a great farmer, but he shifted to that to care for his sickly child. The wife understood that the husband was not a good farmer and wanted to do really anything she could to help out her family. So, in the forest, she finds a Draken Oak and the symbiotic ergo, knows that it could possibly be used for unknown means. How she has this knowledge, I don't know. To cure her daughter, to feed the entire town. So, during the winter festival, she takes her husband's carpentry tools, takes some people out into the forest, and she kills them. She sacrifices them to this symbiotic ergo. Whether or not there is a spirit there that is guiding her along is unclear. It's implied, but never outright stated that's what's happening. So, she does that. She's caught, but she does in fact succeed in both bringing fertile soil and high yields to the town, to the region, and she succeeds in curing her daughter. The father then gives the daughter, Lilia, the information saying, hey, this will help you continue to use the fungi. It will allow you to live a long and prosperous life. Lilia, of course, feeds into this narrative and continues on with the family. She kind of stays in the city, becomes, the adoptive older sister of Jan, of the doctor, and kind of tries to lead them down this route again, along with Attila. Of course, she tries to perform the ritual again, but she doesn't want to use people, so she uses local animals. She fails though, and in doing so, she kind of rejects the entire idea of using the symbiotic ergo, because she doesn't want to kill actual people. So, she resigns her life to just kind of living as is in the town, and becomes who's known as the witch, believing in spirits, all that jazz in relation to the forest. Perhaps she does believe that there is something out there guiding the town, taking the sacrifices as some kind of dark god of the forest, and providing the high yields. Attila then continues the tradition. He provides information to the doctor saying, hey, here's all the advantages of using the fungi. The doctor jumps the gun, doesn't really know how to use the symbiotic ergo, and leads to the death of several townsfolk. The father, of course, being the mayor, covers everything up. Jan, of course, doesn't really vibe with this whole thing. Is like, I don't know if we should be killing people. I don't know if we should continue doing this. Kind of take the same path as Lilia here. Meanwhile, Attila is instigating yet another ritual and is slowly killing people off in the forest to then feed the symbiotic ergo. Jan finds out, kills Attila, ends the 90s disappearances, but the bounty continues. The town continues to thrive. That then leads the mother to sending us an email saying, hey, can you help investigate what happened to my husband? What's going on in this town? Nothing seems right, which leads to the entire thing being broken open. Then it's up to us to decide on what we want to do. Then the Zarnavian government obviously knows what's going on in the forest and is choosing to look the other way because it benefits the entire country. If we choose to publish the information, we just get arrested, the information suppressed because the government, obviously gets a lot of advantages from having this ritual go on every once in a while, every 50 years, because it feeds the entire country. So of course they want this ritual to continue, even if it results in the death of a few people every 50 years. We can delete the evidence, which allows the cycle to continue unbroken. Or we can burn the tree, which literally is like, hey, thank you, now I can die in peace, knowing that this ritual will no longer go on, my benefits do not come at the cost of human life, and so on. And those are the 3 endings. No real canon one here other than the one you choose. But that was Lost Wiki. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a great, fun little mystery game. I liked hunting through the different pages, finding the redacted information, piecing together the narrative, and so on. If you like the game, I highly encourage you to get it yourself and play through it yourself on Steam. I'll leave a link to the Steam page in the pinned comment for you to check out yourself. If you like the video, make sure to leave a like, comment giving me your thoughts, your observations, your theories, and so on. Maybe I missed something, maybe I misunderstood something. Now's a great time to let me know. And subscribe if you would like to see more. For 99 cents a month, channel members get early access to videos and access to cool channel emojis and stickers. And there's also a link to the channel Discord server in the description if you want to join, hang out, talk with the community, talk with me, and so on. Otherwise, I've been SinisterHeart, and I will see you in the next video.